I'm in the forest. I'm backpacking, to be exact, in the Trinity Alps. My husband is with me, as is my dog, and we're looking forward to a relaxing weekend in the wilderness. Far away, in another part of the country, is my cousin Joe. He's 28, and although I don't know it yet, he's dying. I've always struggled on backpacking trips. My endurance was never that great, and about halfway up our trail, I find myself constantly stopping to rest. The last thing on my mind is family. If I'm being honest, I'm not incredibly close to most of my family. It's the distance. It's physical, it's emotional, and what few family members I've met barely know me. There have been very few exceptions to this rule, and one of them was Joe. My cousin and I come from a large family. Based on family trees I've seen, I seem to have a crazy amount of cousins. But Joe was one of the only ones I knew, and the only one I considered myself close to. Maybe it was how close we were in age, or the fact that we were the youngest of the brood. We even looked alike. We could have been siblings. The closeness seems odd in hindsight. We probably only saw each other in person a few times as children before my parents and I moved away, and only twice after that. At the end of the trail, my husband and I come to an annoying realization. We mistook our rainfly for our tent and left the former at the bottom of the trail. The sun was going down, and we had no choice but to make do, sleeping with gaps in our shelter and an endless supply of bugs. Sometime in the night, our dog will spot something in the darkness and try running after it, taking the whole setup with him. It was a rough, sleepless night. I'm ashamed to say that in spite of our bond, I knew very little about Joe's life as we moved into adulthood. Our diverging personalities, the distance. This allowed me to disconnect from one of my closest familial bonds. We would talk on the phone, but it's difficult to really know someone's struggle when you aren't with them. Joe had several health issues. When he was very young, he developed psoriasis, something that is often made light of, but can be incredibly painful. It's also hereditary. My father has it. I got lucky. Eventually, Joe developed psoriatic arthritis, which resulted in even more pain and weakness. Still, as an adult, he managed to get a good job, find happiness in marriage, and do many of the things he loved. Then, at 23, he was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. His life became even more difficult. He had to quit working, and his days became filled with appointments and medication. Sometimes just leaving the house was impossible. I'd always known enough about his health to worry, to feel guilty when I thoughtlessly complained to him, but as time went on, it just became the norm. The distance helped. My husband and I trudged back down the trail, feeling somewhat defeated by the trip. I was tired and sore from the hike. At some point, I stumbled. As I tried to recover, the weight of my pack overtook me, and I fell to the ground. The shock of the fall left me disoriented for a minute as my husband examined the large scrape on my leg. Once the pain set in, it melted with my exhaustion and frustration, sending me to tears. We got home hours later, tired, dirty, and ready to actually relax. But there was a message for me. A family member needed me to call them. It was about Joe. My cousin had died. While I was struggling up the trail, he was suffering from multiple strokes and heart attacks, most likely resulting from the misuse of his pain medication. He was shocked and revived, put on dialysis, clinging to life with tubes and wires. It was an ordeal that lasted for days. I had guilt for months after he passed. I had always been talking down to myself about what I couldn't do, always complaining about a bum knee or low endurance. All the while, my cousin was pushing himself to enjoy life and to move past his pain. I felt like I suddenly hadn't done enough, and that I needed to compensate for his loss by doing more myself. It's a feeling that still hasn't fully let go of me. I can't say that his loss has made me completely alter my life, because it hasn't. I feel the same towards everyone else in the family, maybe a little closer to some, but the distance is the same. I've changed myself in small ways. I push myself more now. I fight through struggles, physical or otherwise, because I know I can. I try every day to fix my mentality, and even if I can't seem to move forward, I tell myself to be thankful. I'm sure he would.